Hey guys, it's Gracie, and today I'm going to be making a video about my experience with the SAT. The way I'm going to kind of break down this video is into three kind of sections. How I felt before the SAT, why I chose to take the SAT, how I chose to study, and the second part is going to be kind of during the SAT, how I felt taking it, what it was like, and kind of my feelings after the SAT, how I felt I did personally, and then the third part is going to be my results and what my plan is going on from here. A big part of why I chose to take the SAT is it's just what's common to take around my area. I know there are some parts in the US where it's more common to take the ACT, but personally my area takes the SAT more commonly, and therefore our schools offer the practice SAT in school, so the PSAT, both sophomore and junior year. This allowed me to be really familiar with the setup of the SAT, which was really important to me going into the test because I didn't want any surprises. With the PSAT, we were offered little practice packets. Honestly, I didn't really use them. I kind of flipped through them, but I wasn't really worried about practicing it. What's tested on the SAT is common knowledge. Well, not common knowledge, but it's what you should have been taught in your classes throughout high school. There shouldn't be anything you have to go out and learn specially. So I was really just hoping that I would know what's on it. When I look to the side, I'm looking at my scores on my laptop. That's gonna happen a lot. Before my freshman year, I got a 1,170, which that put me at a 91 nationally representative sample percentile, and then 83rd of my user percentile nationally. I'm gonna be honest, I've studied both of the little info boxes they have on these trying to explain the differences, and I really struggle trying to tell them apart. But what my understanding is that the first percentile I gave you, which is the nationally representative sample percentile, is like my percentile out of everyone in my age group. However, the second one, my user percentile, is my percentile out of who would actually be taking this out of my age group, I guess. Then I'm gonna break it down for English versus math, because I perform in the language portion a lot better than I do in the math portion. I got 95th for my nationally representative sample percentile in English, and then 90th for my user percentile. And then in math, I got 83rd for the nationally representative sample percentile, and then 60th for my user percentile. So, yeah, 60 versus 90. Yeah, I just performed better in the language portion, and I think what really caused that to happen is I felt as I was taking the PSAT that a lot of it tests Algebra 2 skills, and during my sophomore year, I had just started Algebra 2. It was I took the PSAT and was what even is this math? And then I went on to learn the skills I had needed for the PSAT almost right after I took the first PSAT, which made me so angry, but it's fine. It was only my first year taking it, and both I was higher than the benchmark. So that's not bad at all. I'm good with that. Between my first PSAT and my second PSAT, I didn't really study for the PSAT. So it wasn't a lot of focus on the PSAT studying that helped my score increase. What did help my score increase was, as I said, finishing Algebra 2. I did Algebra 2 honors, so I feel like that really increased my math skills, especially since those were the ones I think the PSAT and the SAT tend to focus on. And then also, when I took the second PSAT, I had just started AP Language and Composition, and that taught me a lot of skills on how to take tests at a faster pace, which I struggle with a lot. It made me a lot better at that, so I was more prepared to do more of the questions and reading for the language arts portion. And not only that, but it helped me like be able to pick out specific passage clues at a faster rate. So not only was I moving at a quicker pace, I was also picking up more. So for my second PSAT, I got a 1360. My evidence-based reading and writing score was at a 710, which was a jump up from a 620, so that score went up 90 points. And then my math score was a 650, which went up 100 points from a 550 that I had gotten the last year in the math portion. So you can really tell that Algebra 2 kind of saved my score. Yeah, so this was really, really exciting for me because, I mean, my score went up 190 at, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, like, it's okay. Like, no, I would be a jerk to act like that wasn't a big deal for me, because it was a big deal. I was really happy with it, especially since a main motivator for me to improve on my PSAT score was that someone told me if you made it into the 95th percentile for your PSAT, that basically guaranteed you scholarships for college. When I made this goal to reach the 95th percentile for my PSAT, I didn't really think it was going to happen, to be honest. I was just trying my best, but concerning my old percentiles, I wasn't that confident that I'd make it, but having that goal in my head, I think, did help. So for my second PSAT, I got a 90th for my nationally representative sample percentile overall, and then a 95th for my user percentile overall. So I did reach the 95th. I don't really know how that affects scholarships at all, to be honest. I reached what I thought would get me scholarships. I haven't really looked in a lot to scholarships yet. I'm starting that now. So, I mean, nothing went to me, you know? I'll see if that improves and helps me as I reach out to scholarships, but the way I was told made it sound like you get 95th and then everyone's jumping at you, but that's not the case. For my reading and writing based scores, I got a 99th for the nationally representative sample percentile, and then a 98th for my user percentile. And then for math, I got a 95th for my nationally representative sample percentile, and then 91st for my user percentile national. So yeah, my percentiles in both categories kind of increased dramatically, and I was really happy because, to be honest, when I was taking the PSAT for the second time, I was kind of in the middle of a meltdown because for some reason I just felt like I was doing so much worse. I thought my score was going to be down. I was kind of like, so much for the 95th, but I guess it shows that if you feel really stressed about something, it means you actually know what you're doing. At this point, I was pretty much already on track for doing well on the SAT. But I will go into how I decided to study for the SAT. I didn't just blow it off like I did the PSAT. The first thing I did in an attempt to get ready for the SAT is the summer before my junior year, I bought this huge book of practice tests, and it has a lot of vocabulary, which is important, and I'll go into that later. Gonna be straight honest, didn't end up using this at all. I flipped through it, almost started taking out the vocab cards right before the test, but didn't really use it. And I guess I'm just really bad at studying on my own, and that's something I kind of knew before, but I should have taken into more of an account when I first bought this, because buying this did not help me at all. So when you're studying for the SAT, you gotta know which kind of learner you are. Could you do it just with the textbook, or are you gonna need a prep class? I ended up doing the prep class, paying $70 for it. Basically what it was is once a week I went into a classroom and had a teacher basically do everything that doing this would have done. I did practice tests, I was given tips for how to take the SAT, which is all in the book, but I needed an outside source, and also I needed the sense of responsibility to something. I just didn't feel responsible for studying when it was only me and a book and the test date coming. I needed to know that someone, like a teacher, was there expecting me, that my parents would get emailed if I didn't show up. Like, I needed that sense of responsibility towards it. So that really helped me. I went there and did all the practice tests. What we did is we had like an estimated score before we took practice tests at the beginning of the course, and kind of had our estimated score and had them at the end. I was feeling really frustrated for a lot of this, I'm gonna be honest. I took like the math tests, and I was just like, what is geometry? Like, I took geometry my freshman year. Like, I don't remember this anymore. And it really stressed me out. And I didn't think I was doing really well in the reading or writing. I didn't feel like we were doing practice that was helping me. I'm pretty sure my first estimated score was lower than my PSAT score, which really upset me. But at the end, I was given an estimated score of a 1470, and I was like, that's really good, except for the fact when I was doing the language arts practice test that ended up being factored into this, I don't think she timed me, and I think I took about an extra 30 to 40 to maybe an hour long time than was actually offered on the SAT, which is a ton of time that I can be used to go back and make sure my answers are correct and pick up everything. So that's not a really good indicator for what I'm gonna do on the SAT, so I didn't really know what to expect. To be honest, I talked about what I wanted to get before I would retake it, with my parents, and I said, I don't know, I don't want to be a complete jerk. I'm not going to take it, I'm not going to spend all that money to take it again if I do well, because I studied for it the first time. You know, it wasn't like I was going into it blind, then was going to get my score, then study to do better on the second time. I had done my studying. This was going to be my score, unless, for some reason, it was a really bad day for me. I think I said something like I want to retake it if I got 1,300 or higher, which honestly I think is a lie. I probably would retake it, even though a 1,300's fine. That's seriously fine. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking, because that would be 60 points below my PSAT score, and I should just have the ability to do better than that on the SAT. But yeah, that's what I did, and now I'm going to go into how I felt during the actual SAT. Of course, there were a lot of nerves just from taking a test. I kind of got into that, nervous, this is affecting my entire future mode, but honestly, I was feeling kind of relaxed for taking such a big test. It was very uncharacteristic for me to not be freaking the heck out right there. So when I got done with the test, I thought that meant that I did horrible. If I wasn't freaking out, and that just meant that everything had went wrong. I just didn't know what to expect after it. I had no feelings about it. I didn't feel like an expert. I didn't feel horrible, and I didn't like that, because usually when I have no emotions about something, it means it was bad. Maybe it just meant that I was really prepared for it. There's not a lot to explain about what it's like to take a test. I wasn't surprised by anything, but that was because I had taken loads of practice tests. So take a practice test. That's no even question. If you haven't taken a practice test before you take the SAT, then what are you doing? You're spending a lot of money to take this. Don't use it as a practice, you know? One thing I forgot to include in the first part is Khan Academy is something the prep course kind of signed us up for. I didn't use it a whole lot, but it's such a good idea. I kind of wish I would. I'm gonna force my sister to use it. But basically, you can put in your PSAT scores. It will tell you the skills you did bad on, and then you can practice the certain skills you need to know better for the SAT. Something I also forgot to mention in the first section, I'm great, is by looking at my PSAT scores in the cross-section for the science score was part of why I decided to take the SAT and not the ACT. My cross-section scores in science and history were not stellar. at all, and were one of the things that were checked that I needed to improve on between the tests. The ACT is evidently more science-based, I guess. And originally I was like, I need to take the ACT because science is what I do the most. I've taken loads of science courses and that's what I want to go into, so I should probably take the ACT since that's what it's more focused on. I'll probably do better on that. However, when I saw that my cross-section scores weren't well, I was like, oh, maybe I should not do that at all. So I focused on the SAT, which this turns out to be really ironic later. I'll go into that. But now we're at the after, the third part, where I talk about how I actually ended up doing. So, spot on, I got a 1470 on the SAT, which is literally exactly what they predicted for me in my prep course. So, listen to the things that predict your score, because they're right. I took the SAT with the essay because most of the colleges I'm applying to require it. For evidence-based reading and writing, I got a 750, and then for the math, I got a 720. Overall, my nationally representative sample percentile was a 99, and then my user percentile was a 98. And then for the evidence-based reading and writing score, both of my percentiles were 99, and then for my math score, my nationally representative sample percentile was a 97, and my user percentile was a 95. So those are all really good things. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I could have done better. Like, no, like, my mind is blown with myself. Like, I have been writing this high since I figured out, and I mean, I'm not gonna act like really humble, like, oh, it's okay, like, whatever, like, no, because that would be really jerky of me, because this was a really awesome thing, and to be like, oh, it wasn't that good, and like to other people would be totally rude to them, because I mean, this is above average, and I'm really happy with this. Like, you probably have an idea. I'm so, like, proud of myself, and, like, it seems so weird to, like, say, like, oh, yeah, I'm just, like, but I am, and I don't think that getting a, like, 1200 on this would have been bad. Like, I know how good this is, because I know how good a 1200 or 1300 are, and I looked when I got this, and I was like, yes, I did it. I did it. So the studying helped a lot, and I think just taking all the practice tests really got me used to it, so I didn't feel so stressed during the test, and I think it's very good for people who especially are in kind of the more advanced maths. I'm only a year ahead of what my school usually offers for my grade, but because I was a year advanced, I felt kind of separated from some of the things that are tested on the PSAT, because it's Algebra 2 and geometry, and when I was taking the SAT, I was practically done with pre-cal honors, so there's nothing from pre-cal on the SAT. So since that was so drilled in my head, I think by doing the prep class and getting more of the geometry and Algebra 2 back into my normal, like, thinking helped me a lot. So if you are kind of separated from those areas of maths, so Algebra 2 and geometry, I think it's very good to take practice tests that will reconnect you to them so you're more comfortable with them when you take the SAT. And taking AP English is a really, really good prep for this too. AP English helped me, like, so much. Like, especially with the essay portion, I don't think I would have been as ready for the essay if I had not taken AP English, AP Language Composition. So, one second, I'm gonna go to my essay score because I do want to talk about this. When I saw my essay score, I was kind of like, what did I do wrong? Because I'm just gonna be honest, when you look at your scores, they don't look that stellar. And considering I had taken AP Lang and that was like, I was constantly writing these kinds of essays for that, I thought I was just gonna do grand. So how they grade your essay is two graders look at it and grade it on like reading, analysis, and writing from 1 to 4, and then they add those two together to like get a total of like 8, but obviously not like really a total because not everyone's gonna get like a 4 on everything. So I got a 6.56, and I don't know, just to me, like a 6 out of 8, a 5 out of 8, a 6 out of 8 doesn't feel that grand. So I started freaking out thinking I was gonna have to take this entire thing just to get a better essay score so I could get into college. Then I looked up what the average essay scores were, and a 6.56 is the average for my testing score range. I forget what site it was on, but if you look up like what's the average SAT essay score, you can find this graph, and based off of your main SAT score, you can find what the average for your essay score is. And for both the 1400 range and the 1500 range, the average is 6.56. So that made me like realize that no, like this was fine. Because originally I was like, oh god, because this is something that wasn't on the PSAT, so I wasn't really ready for how it was graded. So definitely look that up, because you're probably fine if you think your essay score looks a little weird. So where am I going on from here? I don't plan on retaking the SAT. There's been part of me that's like, maybe I should, because everyone says you're almost guaranteed to score higher the second time you take the SAT than the first time, just because you're more like used to it and whatnot, and you know what to look for the second time. But I don't know if it's worth what I would increase at. I don't know if it's worth putting all that more time and money into it, because I'm going into my senior year. I'm taking a lot of hard classes my senior year. I don't want to be focused on studying for something that I'm going to score a few more points in and end up in the same score range, and it's not going to change college mine, you know? My score still puts me fine to get into any of my main colleges that I'm applying to, and all the higher up colleges I'm applying to, I'm still probably going to be in their same category, you know? 30 extra points, 40, whatever. I don't know how most people increase, but that's not going to move me up an entire, like, range for the bigger colleges that I'd be applying to. So I don't think it's worth putting all that more effort into when I should be focusing on just making my senior year good. However, taking the SAT did kind of change how I felt about taking the ACT, because like I said earlier, my cross-section scores in science were not good for my PSATs. However, on my SAT, I got a 40 out of 40 for my cross-section in science, which is good because I feel validated, like, yes, I'm supposed to be going into sciences. I'm not a dumb person that is looking into the wrong thing, but I'm like, really? Now I figured this out, so now I gotta consider taking the ACT for my senior year, which is another reason I want to take the SAT again. But I don't know if I'm gonna do it, just because, like I said, I don't know if scoring high on the ACT is really gonna change how my admissions go. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll be taking the ACT. Yeah, that's how taking the SAT went. Overall, my experience was really good, and I think it was really good because I did take a prep course. It did really help me reach that goal of studying that I wouldn't have reached without the prep course, because I can't focus on this book. However, something that the prep course did not offer me that I kind of wish I had was vocabulary, which would have been in this book. I did have some vocabulary help in AP Lang and composition, but it would have been really good for me to focus on studying the vocabulary from the book, because I did run into some instances where I didn't know all of the vocabulary. Obviously, I worked at out pretty well. It didn't hurt me that much, but if you're looking for some advice on something I wish I did that I didn't end up doing, it's studying the vocabulary. Also, the connection into, like, if you're in advanced maths and going back into the earlier maths to remind yourself of everything, that is something I should have probably done a little more. Something I'm really kind of embarrassed about is I forgot what the word consecutive meant on the math portion and missed a question that I really shouldn't have missed. For some reason, I thought consecutive didn't just mean like 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6. I thought it could be arithmetic or geometric, which are terms that I just learned in pre-cal. So, see, like, learning new things kind of made me forget old things. So, make sure you know the other terms. I also had a friend that's really freaking smart, and she forgot what the word range meant on the SAT and missed a question because of that. So, it's obvious that it's really important to not just be like, oh, I'm in pre-cal or I'm in calculus, like, I'll be fine, like, I know everything, like, because there are some things that you haven't focused on for a while that you need to go back and focus on because you're taking a test that is at the level of Algebra 2 and geometry. And even if you are really good at the higher up maths, you might have forgotten some things from the range that they're testing you on. I did end up taking some SAT subject tests. I don't have my scores from that yet because I took it June 3rd. I'm not gonna go into detail about my feelings quite yet, if you can't tell from how I'm acting right now, but I will get back to you on that and describe that interesting experience in a different video. I don't know if this is very helpful. This is me just kind of like talking about my experience, just kind of like a documentation thing. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully, I didn't want to make this a very boasty video or like bragging video. I do totally recognize that this is good, and I'm not calling myself really good in order to brag or something. I'm doing it because I don't want to come off as really pretentious or being like, yeah, like, I'm just okay. I'm saying my scores are really good because I don't want to, you know, underestimate, or not really underestimate, but like not recognize how these are good, because I know that there are people that try really hard and are really smart and could not get this, you know? Like, I don't want to be like a 1470 is not that good, because there are people that won't score near a 1470 and are still so smart and still so skilled. So this is a good score because there are tons of scores below it that are still good. I would have been fine, like, with a lower score than this. So I'm really happy that I did get this, and I'm really happy for anyone that gets a 1300 or a 1200, you know, or even lower than that. Like, I'm proud of everyone that even manages to take this and survive. So I don't want to be braggy, but I just don't want to be like nonchalant about my score, because that would be really rude to anyone that scored lower than me, because they all did awesome too. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this somehow. Thank you for watching. Bye. Please comment, like, and if you care enough, subscribe. Bye.